Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to your weekly weather briefing for Thursday, October 6th. Luckily, our forecast looks like it's going to be rather quiet, so we'll get into it shortly after this. So here's your situational overview. Right now, there are no real impacts to concern ourselves with for the next 5 to 7 days. That dry forecast is going to continue at least into next week. Maybe see a little bit of chance for rain to return mid to late next week, fingers crossed. We will see a cold front, though, early Saturday, and that should lead to cooler mornings, but the afternoons are still going to be kind of mild, upper 70s to mid 80s, probably Saturday and Sunday, and then we'll start to slowly warm up going into next week. The Atlantic, I wouldn't say it's quiet. There is active. There are 2 storms out there, but there will be no impacts to our region. So here's your tropical weather outlook. The next, basically for 5 days, you can see there is no other system expected to develop in the next 5 days. They are tracking 2, 12, and 13. 13 is expected to become Julia, and right now forecast to become a hurricane as it approaches Honduras and Nicaragua. Whereas 12 out in the Atlantic, it's going to stay out in the Atlantic. Definitely not a concern for us. But even 13, right now there's a ridge of high pressure just sitting just north of the greater Antilles. So you look at Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Cuba, kind of sitting right over the Bahama region. But it's going to extend west across the Gulf into Mexico and southern Texas. And that's just going to continue to drive 13 or possibly Julia to the east pretty much throughout its forecast. And it will not be a concern for our region. Storm total rainfall forecast. Kind of going into this right now because we really don't have much to forecast outside of some temperatures, because if you look through Wednesday morning, that upper left image, pretty dry. There is no rain forecast through at least Wednesday morning. And then the lower left is the next 7 days, so it goes all the way through Thursday morning. And this is kind of the time we're expecting either that next cold front to kind of move into the region, and on Wednesday, kind of midday, late afternoon, may start to see moisture really try to creep up, so it could lead to a few showers, kind of late Wednesday. Even though that says Thursday morning, remember, that's all the way through midday. Most likely, the rain will be associated with that next cold front that comes through. So don't be surprised if that gets pushed back just a little bit, maybe more into Friday, if that front does slow down a little bit. However, that probably going to be what we're waiting on, is that next cold front to come through here, as long as the moisture can increase across the area, because we do have that cold front Saturday, but we are dry as a bone and there is no rain expected across the region. Your hazard outlook for the next basically 3 to 7 days, for pretty much most of the United States, there really isn't much to talk about. Up in Alaska, they are concerned with some heavy precipitation right along coastal areas and then very high winds along that southwestern coast of Alaska. However, that area deals with high winds most of the time anyway. You can see pretty much the western half of the United States, quite a bit of area that's dealing with some drought-like condition. Flooding. Drought. I apologize. Drought conditions. I don't know why I'm reading that wrong. But the blue highlighted area is kind of behind that cold front that we're going to see Saturday morning, but further north, really going to tap into some cooler Canadian air and definitely going to drive temperatures well below normal for at least early mid-October. So something to keep an eye on for us, because it's definitely going to help dry out our area. It gives us a nice cool morning, and I kind of go into that in a few more slides about what we kind of watch for. However, I say that it's nothing hazardous and no real concern. It's more just for your personal pleasure to stay comfortable. So look at the Drought Monitor, as I mentioned earlier. It's been pretty dry across the region. Starting to see those drought conditions slowly creep up most of the area right now, still in D0, which is abnormally dry. Do remember, though, this is kind of that, September and October is kind of our dry season. So this is when we should be expecting more of our drier weather. However, going a whole month without rain, that's usually a little difficult for our area. It's not out of the question. There have been months of October where we've had a few sites that did not record any rain whatsoever. But you look at right now, the last time like Baton Rouge and Macomb actually saw some appreciable rain was September 9th. And I say appreciable, like Baton Rouge was a little bit right around 3/10, and Macomb was less than 2/10. So it's not a lot of rain, but they did get some rain then. However, you look at like New Orleans, coastal Mississippi, you're looking at September 7th. Now, coastal Mississippi, Slidell, New Orleans area did get some pretty heavy rainfall early in the month. Even New Orleans had over 2 inches, like I think it was September 3rd. But after September 7th, it's been dry. And right now, with it being October 6th, it's been about a month, so it's still dry, and we look like we're going to be dry at least till Wednesday next week. Fingers crossed we can finally get some rain, because I know a lot of us are hoping for it, at least to kind of help, keep that, drier air, where the, dust is starting to kind of pick up, other pollen and other stuff getting in the air, kind of help clean out the air some for us. So get a little bit of rain would be nice. So looking at our next 5 days of forecast, as you can see, no rain in the forecast. Sun looks like partly sunny tomorrow. There'll be some clouds to deal with. However, Saturday behind that front, Sunday, and even Monday, you're looking at sunny to mostly sunny skies. Tomorrow, we'll see highs, kind of in that mid 80s to near 90. We're going to be warm and dry. And the reason putting dry on there is that you start getting around 90, obviously you start getting yourself concerned with some, heat index issues, especially since we hadn't really been that warm recently. So it could kind of catch up on people. However, even if some areas get 90, which the best chance for that's going to probably be like Livingston Parish, Ascension Parish, right around the Lake Maurepas area and that kind of marshy zones there. Baton Rouge will be at upper 80s. You get closer to the coastal Mississippi, especially right behind the sea breeze, it'll probably stay in the mid 80s. Southwest Mississippi, mid 80s. New Orleans area, mid to maybe upper 80s. But even with 90, because we're going to be so dry, we're going to really mix some drier air in the afternoon. Those heat indices will be either what the actual temperature is, or even in the shade could be a few degrees cooler thanks to the drier air. So really no concerns tomorrow with the heat. Going in the weekend, you can see behind our front, we do cool off a little bit. Not as much cold air, it's more the drier air, and that's going to have an impact mainly on those morning lows. But you can see Saturday, lower to mid 80s, and Sunday, upper 70s to mid 80s across most of the area. Sunday's probably going to be the driest day, where we could see RH values drop to between 20 and 30%. However, we're not overly concerned with the fire weather issues because we're not really going to have any wind, and it's going to be right there at that, probably more closer to 25% with the min RH values, and then to 30 and slightly higher. However, I want to point out those lows on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. You can see, I'm sorry, not Saturday morning, Saturday night. So Sunday morning lows and then Monday morning lows. If you look at the Sunday morning lows, we got 51 to 63 in there. However, models just like last week, especially this past weekend, Sunday and Monday, really struggled with how cool we got overnight and the radiational cooling, we call it. And what radiational cooling is that it allows the Earth to basically cool by sending the heat back into back into space. So just think about it that when there's no clouds, there's nothing holding that heat down, so that what we call long wave radiation just continues to leave the surface and go into outer space right now, which allows us to cool. That is maximized with the clear skies, with the lack of winds, which the winds will help mix the air, so it keeps it from cooling as much, and then the very dry conditions. So all three of those conditions being in place should really maximize what we call radiational cooling, and will allow the temperatures to drop like they have been earlier this week and last week. So that 51 to 63 may be a little on the high end. It is a little bit below some of the models. However, don't be surprised if we have to start tweaking that down a little bit more, and especially Monday morning as well, if we get as dry as we could get on Sunday. As you can see, going into next week, we start to moderate, temperatures start to warm up a little bit. But however, we won't see really an increase of moisture until maybe late Tuesday. So we'll see a return of some clouds, but most likely going to wait till Wednesday to see the moisture return. So summary of impacts, really there's not much impacting our area. We've been dry, we'll remain dry, and we've been dry for about a month. Drought conditions are starting to slowly increase across the region, but fingers crossed we could get some light rain mid to late next week. Do see a decent cold front move through early Saturday, so we'll make for a very nice weekend. Again, Sunday will be really dry, and if you are out, got to go anywhere Sunday morning, even myself, I do have to go to a swim meet. Make sure you kind of have a light jacket. Just prepare for a cool morning. However, the temperatures should warm up pretty quickly enough to feel real comfortable by late morning, midday. And the tropics, They're not quiet, but there is no impact for our region, and we should remain pretty quiet for at least the next 5 to 10 days. Thank you very much, everybody. I hope this was helpful in you planning your weekend and next week. Have a good week, and we will see you all later.